Hi, and welcome back to That's the B, where we talk about fashion, fashion people, and opportunities in the creative industry. Today, I am with a really, really good friend of mine. We've been friends for forever, a very, very long time. And ever since we both modeled. So we met each other through modeling. And now she's an assistant buyer at Neiman Marcus, which is the coolest thing, still in the fashion industry. So we're going to talk about how you made it all happen. And first, what inspired you to be a model or wanted to be like in the fashion model industry?
Okay. I think ever since I was a little girl, like watching movies and stuff, I've always been fascinated with the whole like New York fashion. I don't know, it just always caught my interest. And then, I mean, obviously being from a small city, I was like, there's just no way for me to like find those opportunities here. But as I went through like school and stuff, when I was in middle school, my one of my friends was like modeling in this venue that we have here in Juarez that's called Nubo. And one of the, I don't know if he's still the owner, but back then he was one of the owners, and he did like what we call expo bolas, which is where all of the vendors who are in charge of whatever you need for a wedding or a quinceañera, they'll show like at those events, and then they have like a fashion show with bridal and quinceañera dresses. So that's kind of like what got me into modeling. I started going to classes there, not very like professional at all. It was very casual.
Okay.
And then when I went to high school, I saw this girl, like friends in common, that she was modeling in El Paso, and I was like, oh, that sounds like interesting. And back then, the agency where we started was Wilhelmina Bazaar.
I love that it was part of Wilhelmina.
Yeah.
Like it was so cool.
Yeah, because it's one of like the largest agencies in the US. So I was like, oh my God, this is so fun, this is so cool. I'm interested in joining. So I spoke to her. She directed me to the, I guess, like, what do you call, like
agent?
Like agent, yeah. She put me in contact with him, and I met with him and made my parents drive me to El Paso for this meeting. And we talked through all the things, and shortly after I started classes, we used to go to regular classes like every, I think, Saturday or Sunday, or only Sunday, I can't remember. But yeah, that's how I started, and I was probably modeling up until like my college years.
Yeah.
And then slowly started like dwindling down as obviously life got busier, but
yeah, work and marketing
stuff. And AMA stuff.
I love that. I don't think I ever asked you how like you started, because it was very much like we were in the same agency, and it was just like, okay, friends. And then we just like kept doing the same things. And I think that's why we bonded so much, because we both have like a passion for fashion. And I think it's so cool that you were like the first, or you were the first person actually, to go, that I got to go to New York with. Yeah. Like I love that I share that experience with you.
Yeah, same.
Which was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
crazy.
Insanity. We're not old.
No, we're not.
I don't understand.
We're just young back then.
We're younger. But yeah, I love that we both have experienced New York together, and I know you've gone back after the fact as well, and now you're in Dallas. So what, I know you would talk to me about like wanting to do something in like fashion marketing, and we both wanted to do something like that.
Yeah.
But how was like the process to become an assistant buyer at Neiman Marcus? Because that's like, I feel like that's huge for even like the company and the brand, and the brands you get to work with, rather than just like one brand.
Okay, I'm gonna try to make this story not as long.
It's okay.
But I started working when I was in college. I started working at Guess, which is just like a, the
Retail.
at the mall, yeah. And I remember having a conversation with one of my managers who later became one of my friends, and she was also studying marketing. To give a little bit of context of why I went into marketing, because I think in my mind it gave me the opportunity to go either the creative route or the more businessy, which at this point I'm still grateful for. Like, I wouldn't change the major I did. So yeah, she was also studying marketing, and we were talking like, okay, so what's your plan after graduation? Where do you want to work? All that stuff. And she told me like, I would actually love to work for like a corporate, like a guest, but corporate. I would like to work for a corporate. And I honestly never thought about it that way, because when you think of like fashion, you think of designers, you think of photographers, but you don't really think about like the business side of things that much. So I was like, you know what, that sounds interesting. And that kind of just like put something in my mind. And then I started applying to like different jobs, not only in Dallas. Obviously, I had to get out of El Paso because those opportunities didn't show up as often here, unfortunately. So I applied like everywhere. I applied to Scottsdale, Phoenix, even Miami, Dallas. And then I did a couple summer internships for Target, but Target like the store, not necessarily corporate. But in my mind, I was like, well, maybe I can work store for a bit and then work for corporate. That was kind of like my plan. And I did those internships in Dallas. And while I was in Dallas, I was kind of researching which companies had their headquarters there. And I saw that like Fossil has their headquarters there, JCPenney, like a bunch of like fashion companies. So I was like, oh my God, I think this is a good place for me to be in to start. And again, my plan was to go start working with Target, but when they made me the offer post-graduation, it really didn't make sense for me, like living there. Just with like cost of living and everything. So I applied to a different job, which was completely different than the fashion industry. It's a totally.
She drove trucks.
I sold power tools.
So not glam.
Not glam at all, but it got me to move to Dallas because the company does like give you some financial assistance. And back then, I don't know if they still do it. But yeah, that's what got me to Dallas. And in my mind, I was like, well, this is what's gonna get me here, and I'm just gonna wait it out, get some experience, and then hopefully in the future I can apply to these other companies. Because before I graduated college, I did apply to like different positions and internships in Neiman Marcus, Fossil, and I always got rejected. I even had my like first interview with Bloomingdale's in New York for the same program that I did later on with Neiman Marcus, and I didn't get it. So in my mind, I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna get this experience, move to Dallas, and then we'll go from there. And then after a year of working at that company, I quickly realized that obviously selling power tools was not my calling.
Like, I thought it was gonna be a passion.
No. I mean, I never thought of it that it was gonna be a passion, but I thought maybe I will work corporate for this company. But obviously didn't see myself doing that. I still was very passionate about fashion and the industry. Then I kept like connecting with people on LinkedIn, recruiters especially, and I saw one of the recruiters for Neiman Marcus post like, I am hosting an info session for the executive development program, which is what you start as when you become an assistant buyer pretty much at any major retailer like Bloomingdale's, Macy's. They each have their own version of this program. So I was like, okay, perfect, I'm gonna attend this info session. I remember I was like at my previous job working while waiting online for this info session, like to join. And I didn't get a chance to speak to the recruiter then. So I just shoot her like a LinkedIn message, and I told her, hey, I'm interested in the positions at Neiman Marcus. This is my resume. And she said, can you just email it to me, and then we'll set up a call or something. So I just emailed her my resume, and then after that got the interview, and it was probably a month-long process of several interviews. I had to go through an assessment program, and then ultimately ended up getting the offer to start in the EDP program, the Executive Development Program, to become an assistant buyer.
Wow, what a process.
Yeah, it was a long process, but it was rewarding for sure.
And I know we spoke for like 3 hours the other day.
Yeah.
Talked about like all the things and how you're like very happy in the position you're in now. So I'm just so happy that you're happy that you still get to do something in the fashion industry. Did you know? I know you kind of got or discovered the assistant buyer position kind of later in college life or the retail life. But it was that like a goal, or do you know if you want to do something like bigger for the company, or even if it's not for that company in the fashion industry, is there like a goal that you want to get to?
I mean, honestly, before being an assistant buyer, I wasn't even aware that this was a career path. And I discovered it because I was actually listening to a podcast, and the host was interviewing, she did the sales part of what my job is. So she was a sales rep for a fashion brand, and she was explaining like her side working with buyers, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, because selling, realized is not my thing. I sold like clothes at Guess when I work at the mall, and then I sold power tools, obviously, for this other job, and I really didn't like it. So I was like, oh, maybe I should go to the buying side. And I started researching what the position entail, and that's how I decided that it was something that I was going to apply to. And now working and being in this role, I see the career path, and I feel like it's what I was meant to do and what I really like.
You just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't know what it was then. I didn't know what it entailed. I really wasn't aware of the position, but now it's something that I really enjoy. And obviously, yes, my goal would be to grow to become a buyer, and then after that, it's like a whole new,
like, oh, Neiman Marcus.
Yeah, the CEO. No, but yeah,
you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Like, life is weird. So what is an assistant buyer?
I was prepared for this question.
Like, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna explain what a buyer does. So if you go to any store, it can be Target, Dillard's, Macy's, and you see whatever product is presented to you, someone chose that product to be there. And that's what the buyer does. So they decide what we're gonna sell either at a store, online, for clients. And this is based on like analyzing trends, reports, looking back at history, and then also predicting future trends as well. So it's a little bit of a mix of both. And what I do as an assistant buyer is pretty much just assist the buyer in their buying process. So I pull reports. You said right now, like glamorous. I would say it's not very glamorous. I'm pretty much 90% of the time working in Excel, looking at reports. But for me, I really enjoy it, and I enjoy it because it allows me to exercise the part of my brain that's very like analytical, looking at numbers. But I also really like looking at the product and what the new collection is going to be, and then deciding what we're going to sell at whatever location we're looking at. Obviously, you also have to be very strategic, because you're not going to sell, I don't know, very like heavy fur winter coats in a Miami store. Like you also have to
know your location.
Yeah, know your location, know your market, and also know your customer, what their shopping trends are. So yeah, that's what a buyer does.
Cool. I feel like it's such like undermined career, because like I heard it throughout the years, and like even like one of my fashion clients, I know she works with assistant buyers, and she's like a buyer herself for her clothing boutique. So it's cool to see that side of things and how products get selected. And do you all ever like decide if you need to drop a brand?
Yeah, and that's a tough conversation to have. Obviously, that's what my buyer is there for. Obviously, we always, at least in my role in my company, we always try to make it work as much as we can. But at the end of the day, obviously, we want to make sure that the brand is profitable, that the company is profitable as well. So there has been situations where we have to drop a brand just because we see that it's not resonating with the customer. I remember when I was working in Neiman Marcus, but in the home division, we had like a very exciting, fun collaboration with Dolce & Gabbana. And we were like, oh my God, this is going to be a hit because it's such a big brand, right? Yeah. And it didn't really do well. Unfortunately, for like the home division, it wasn't doing well. So we had to drop that like collaboration, which obviously you care about the brand, you care about the partnership, you want to maintain that partnership. But at the end of the day, it's a business. Yeah. So if it's not making sense for us, we don't want to waste anyone's time, right?
Yeah. I feel like people don't realize all the process that goes behind all these brands that we see in Neiman Marcus or even like Saks, Bloomingdale's. Yeah. I guess I was just gonna comment on the fact that, I mean, Neiman Marcus has so many brands that you guys work with. And so is there just like one main buyer for the whole entire division, or do you guys have more than one buyer?
No, we definitely do have more than one buyer just because we have a lot of departments. So there's like home, shoes, beauty, even within like beauty, it'll be different subdivisions. So we like each division gets a buyer. So there's multiple buyers in the company. It's not just one. And then obviously beneath the buyers are the assistant buyers, and there's even more of that.
Is there like any other fashion roles or like, yeah, I guess roles in like your company or that you've seen in other companies in the like fashion related industry, aside from like assistant buyer, that call your attention or that you know of that, I don't know, like that people don't really know about?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business, so there's like obviously a lot of different parts. There's like the legal aspect, marketing, finance, accounting. So there's like a lot.
Everything in fashion.
Yeah, everything but in fashion. I would say that interests me. Probably PR and marketing, just because I see, the outcome of what they do, and it's like, this is so fun. But I feel like at this point I really am happy where I'm at. Yeah. And I'd like to continue growing in that, but I'm not opposed or close to exploring other fields within my company.
And I mean, I feel like there's just so much opportunity, so you can definitely like move around if you wanted to. Yeah. What is advice that you would give to anyone who wants to become either an assistant buyer or a buyer?
I would say not necessarily specifically for assistant buyer or buyer, but if you're interested in working in the fashion industry, again, coming from a small city, you think there's just no opportunities for me here. And instead of having that negative and really like limited mindset, work with what you have. So for me, I knew that I wanted to work in fashion when I was in college, but I didn't know how to get there. So I started like researching, and I thought, okay, if I study marketing, then that gives me like a little bit of experience that can be applied in the fashion industry. Okay, how can I get more fashion experience working at a retail store? I would say like taking those baby steps with the resources available to you. And then as you growing your career, graduate, maintaining connections. I feel like it's very important. Like I said, I started connecting with people on LinkedIn, looking for recruiters for X company that I wanted to work for, making the connection, sending either like a little pitch, my resume, and probably most of the time you're not going to get an answer, but it only takes one yes to make it. So I would say use your resources available for you. Yeah, update your LinkedIn. And then, keep close track of your connections.
Yeah, I love that because it's true. I feel like connections are everything. And I know in the past I've heard other people who have like positions that they want in the fashion industry where stories were, well, they didn't hire them back then, but then they hired them in the future just because they remember that person.
Yeah.
So keep like bugging people.
Yeah,
like,
no.
I'm here.
Yeah, and again, when I applied to this company before I graduated college, and I got rejected, and then it took for me to move there. Obviously, hopefully, it doesn't take that for many people, but it took for me to move there, get experience in a completely different job. And I remember in the first interview that I had with Neiman Marcus, they asked me like, "Okay, how are you coming from power tools to this?" And I told them like, "No, this is literally my calling." That was just a sidetrack, but I guess they were curious and they were surprised with, okay, how is this girl going to bring that experience into this role? And I mean, I did some of things that can be applicable to this role, like negotiation with key people in the retailers that I work with. So I feel like that played a lot into the experience that I now get to share in my current role.
Very cool. So I feel like, experience overall will always add into, if not in the moment, later to whatever you want to apply to. And you just like made me want to update my LinkedIn because it's like not updated right now. But I feel like in corporate world, you definitely have to have a LinkedIn updated and be on top of things and make those connections. And I know like my boyfriend's definitely more of a corporate man. Yeah. So he's always talking about LinkedIn and I'm just like, I'm on Instagram making reels. So like sharing all the things. Yeah. But like you say, creative or like being in the fashion industry is not just being like, I guess like creative with the things and like social media and signing and beauty, but also the business and how to be part of that. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's all the time we have. Perfect. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
It's always so great to catch up and talk.
For 3 hours.
Yes. And now for the world to listen and see and learn a little bit more of what other roles there are in the fashion world. Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to follow at That's the V podcast on all platforms for more fashion content. And a big thank you to our sponsor, JAG Premier Advertising Agency. If you're looking to get on platforms like Hulu or Netflix, check out the link in the description.